Fine. So in the last session we completed up to this task. Now we'll create the supplier address, supplier site. The same site we can associate to specific business unit. What are multiple business units we can assign? Supplier site, same as EBS R12. We know very well in EBS 11i, the site is very specific to operating in it. Within the OU, we can create the site from release 12, EBS release 12. They made that site assignment to multiple operating nets, the same flexibility we have in Fusion also. We'll go and see that. So to create the suppliers and the address, site and site assignments, we assign the role called as supplier manager to our user, right? So now you can go to the relevant privileges to what exactly this user will have get access because of that role. If you go to navigator under procurement, you could see that task called as supplier. Okay, you could see the task called as supplier. So this task you are able to see here because you assign the role called as supplier manager to this user. And if this user is employee user and procurement agent, so by navigating through the supplier sites, this user can create sites and site assignments only, not only just supplier and address. Fine. Just click on supplier's task. Fine. Here go to task list. Click on task list. Here you can see the different tasks related to supplier. So manage suppliers, create suppliers, import suppliers, merge suppliers, supplier registration. Okay. So now you can click on create supplier. Here we can give our supplier name. We can name as say Cloud INC supplier 1. Okay, Cloud INC supplier 1 and business relationship. So if you click on this drop down, you could see two values. One is prospective. The supplier, what we are creating, that supplier is just prospective supplier to our organization, or else the supplier is spend authorized. Prospective supplier basically we create and use in sourcing process. So if you create supplier by selecting the business relationship as a prospective, by using that supplier, you cannot create any transactions. You cannot create the purchase order. You cannot create invoice with that supplier. Prospective supplier is not allowed to record any POs and purchase invoices. Okay, that prospective supplier can be used in the sourcing process only, bidding and other processes. Okay, so if you want to create any transaction, if you want to create any purchase order or invoice against the supplier, you have to select business relationship as a spend authorized. So the organization, as a part of procurement, the organization may follow the process of creating the prospective supplier and converting the prospective supplier to spend authorized by following the internal process, or else for the same we can set the approvals also. So you may create first prospective supplier to convert from prospective to spend authorized. You can set up the approvals. That sort of process also the procurement department follows. But here we'll see how to create the spend authorized because we need supplier to create the invoices. So going forward, I'll show you like how to create prospective, how to convert into spend authorized also. It's a very simple process. Fine. To create the invoices and the payables, we need supplier with business relationship called as spend authorized. That means this supplier is authorized to spend. That means our organization can spend against this supplier. It means we can purchase any material goods or we can render the services. That is the meaning of spend authorized. Supplier is authorized to spend. That means to procure. Tax organization type. This supplier, Cloud INC supplier 1, falls under which type of organization in terms of taxation. So you can select any one of the value. It's all about just classification, doesn't have any functionality behind it. I'm selecting this supplier falls under corporation organization type, and other information is optional. Okay, other information is optional. You can click on create. Once you click on create, system will create the supplier header, nothing but here we call as supplier profile. So provide the name, provide the business relationship as spent authorized. If you want to use the supplier directly in the payables or in purchasing for PO creation, it should be spent authorized. Organization type, any organization based on the reality you have to select when you create the actual suppliers. The rest of fields are optional. You can say create. Based on this information, system will create supplier header. Here you could see as a title, the same you could see as a profile. You can see this cloud inc supplier one. Okay, created the profile. In the profile, supplier name is cloud inc supplier. Supplier number is system taken from the specified supplier number generation, specified supplier numbering, right? And business relationship and how supplier is created through manual process. And apart from that, here you can see all the other relevant information. Maybe you can go to the payments tab and you can set default payment method for the supplier header level itself, or say profile level itself. So select check or any other payment method and you can click on default, so that that system will mark as a default. Okay, so we don't need to set most of the information as defaults or anything at profile level. Just we can set it address and site and other levels. Okay, done. This is how we have to create the supplier. After creating the supplier profile, go to addresses. The next tab is addresses, then sites. Go to addresses and click on create. See, when you talk about addresses, in case of EBS R12, when you create the supplier, we provide address. Within the address only, we have one additional field called as address name. That system will treat as a site. But here the definitions they given separate. First we'll create address, against the address will create the site. But in EBS, if you create one supplier and supplier site, site means address plus site name. Again, if you are going to create one more site, at that time system will ask us to choose existing address for new site or to create the new address. That flexibility we have, but first time when you create the first site, we don't have that flexibility of creating the address and giving the site name for that separately. We don't have, but here we got that flexibility where we can create the address. That address you can, based on that address you can create one or multiple sites. So you can provide the address name. So let's give everything with the prefix as cloud inc. Say cloud inc address. The supplier is belongs to which country, that you can select as an address country. Say US. And address line 1, 2, these are all are optional, but if you want to fill, you can fill with some basic text. Cloud inc address 1. Just I'm entering dummy test. Fine. Now you can select postal code for this address. Then system will default city, state and county for the same. Select any one of the postal code, it will default. The rest of information based on the address structure which we have seen in the manage geographies. Okay, what is the purpose of this address? Okay, in this address, what supplier is doing, whether we can, whether we can place the orders to this address or not, we can send the payment or not, and we can just request for quotations and bidding process can be done in this custom supplier address or not. That you have to specify as address purpose. Say we are going to contact this supplier in this address to place the orders and to remit the payment. Remit to is nothing but payment. Okay, done. Now you can say save and close. And if you want to set the default payment method and all at address level, you can do it. Let me reopen that. Click on edit. whatever we created just now, you can see the same definition. So address level, if you want to set certain defaults, you can do that. Go to payments tab. Profile level, we given check as a default, right? In the same way, like we can give address level check or any other payment method as a default. Select, click on default, it will get defaulted. So say save and close. We created supplier and supplier address. Now we'll create the supplier site against the address. Go to sites. When you go to sites tab, if you are accessing these sites from implementation user, you will see this create icon as a grayed out. But now we are not accessing this application or this page from implementation user. We are accessing to this page from procurement agent, employee user who's converted as a procurement. That is the reason this is grayed out. Okay, in case of implementation user, you will see this check this function as a grayed out. In case of employee user, you can see this is enabled. Okay, anytime if you see this site level, okay, the site level, this is grayed out. What you have to understand, two reasons. One could be the user is implementation user. If not implementation user, what could be the other reason? Any guess? What could be the other reason? One could be the user is not a user is a implementation user. If not that, what could be the other reason when you see the checkbox as grayed out?
Supply manager role is not assigned.
If supplier manager role is not assigned, you cannot come to this page. What could be the other reason?
Procurement user has not defined for this employee.
Sorry?
A user has not defined as a procurement user role. The employee which has been defined as a user, the role has not been defined as a procurement.
Isn't. That is the point. Okay. User is a employee user, but the user is not created as a procurement agent. In that case, also you could see this function as grayed out. Because of just employee user, system won't allow you to create it. Okay, you should be a procurement agent, then it will allow you to create the sites. So that is the point. These are the reasons normally why we see this function as grayed out. Fine. Now the current user is employee user and procurement agent. So this user will have has full privileges to create the supplier sites. The reason already we assigned supplier manager role. That is the reason we are on this page. So click on create. Just click on create. Now to create the supplier site, select supplier address. So cloud inc address. The same address name system will default to site name. You can override it. Say site 1. And address level, we given the address purpose. The same system is defaulting as a site purpose. Purchasing and to pay. Okay, you may make it as a primary pay, which system will default for the supplier. And for sourcing, if you are going to use, you can enable it. And procurement card process, if you are going to use the supplier, you can enable for this site. So just we selected address, system defaulted same address as a site name. We are overriding the name, and we are just giving how we want to see the site name for this address, and the system is defaulting the address purposes as a site purposes. You may override as per your requirement. So the address purpose supplier has to purchasing and to payment, but this is a site you are going to use only for payment purpose. You may not purchase something from the supplier. Means when you enable purchasing, system will allow you to create the purchase orders. You may not have orders with the supplier with the site. Maybe like you will be spending something and expense kind of thing. If you, even if you are not going to place the purchase order, system will allow you to make the payment Before that, you can create the invoices. How you require, you can set it up. Find the all the information system is defaulting based on the address, and you can override. And if you see here below, all the tabs are grayed out. So to enable them, you have to save this definition. What are the information? What are the site name you given? After that, you have to save it. And now below section, you could say as a enable. Okay, and if you go to payments tab, you could see the default payment method check is defaulting from address. So from this address, okay, that is getting defaulted, and you have a invoicing tab and all to set the relevant controls. Okay, what you have to do is, so so I mean, supplier site level, you have to set invoice currency. Okay, so invoice currency is USD, and payment currency also USD. Here in Fusion, as a part of payables, we can process the cross currency payments. That means you can have invoice in one currency, payment in the different currency, which is not possible in EBS, even in R12. Okay, so that we can do it. Here you have to give the specifications. So you just specify here as a mandatory. Otherwise, every time when you create the invoice against the supplier side, you have to go to LOV and you have to select for invoice currency. If you select invoice currency, by default system will take the same as a payment currency. Otherwise, as based on the process, you may override. So there is some difference in terms of defaulting the currency in case of EBS and R12. Say for example, what is the topmost level? We set the invoice currency in EBS payables, where you can specify the invoice currency, default invoice currency. What level you can set up? Where you can set up? From where it will default to supplier and supplier to supplier site? How it will default in case of EBS?
Payable system setups.
Yeah, exactly. Payable system setup. That is the topmost level where you can specify the default currency. Whenever you create the supplier, so for every supplier, that currency will get defaulted to header, from header to site. So when you are creating the invoice, from site to invoice creation. But here, that sort of defaults are not applicable. Not, we don't have here. Only the point is we have to set it primarily site level. So otherwise these fields will be blank. Since these are blank, when you create invoice, also invoice creation time, also currency field will become blank. So you all the time you have to select. That is the reason. Just make sure that you are providing the invoice currency and payment currency supplier site level, so that the user process will become very easy. Okay, just notice this point. Just say save and close. Okay, I'm sorry, just done. Okay, we created, just I'm just reopening the same. I'm clicking on edit the same record. So what is the next task? We created supplier address site. Now we have to assign the site to business unit. Go to site assignments tab. Go to site assignments and tell me, this cloud inc user is acting as a procurement agent for how many business units? The cloud inc user is acting as a procurement agent for how many business units?
Only one.
Only one. So this cloud inc user is acting as a procurement agent for only one business unit. That is the reason this user can assign this site to only one business, that business unit only. Okay, only that business unit this user can assign the site. That's all. So if you want to assign through manual process, you can click on add and search and assign. Otherwise, simply you can click on auto create assignment. What system will do is, when you click on auto create assignment, system will look at this user is acting as procurement agent for how many business unit. For those business unit, the site will get assigned, and you can remove also if you want to remove. Say this user is acting as a procurement agent for 4 business units. In that case, if you click on auto create assignment, this site will be assigned to 4 business units. For specific business unit you don't want to assign the site, you can remove it before you save. Otherwise, you have to click on create, add, and search for that only one business unit for which BU this user is acting as a procurement agent. That BU only you can find. That's how you can do the assignment. Okay, you can click on auto create, system will default, or else you have to search and select. I'm just clicking on auto create assignment. This site will get assigned to the BU for which BU this user acting as a procurement agent. See here, system selected. We'll talk about what is the meaning of client BU and bill to BU. Any question here to understand this point, please? Assignment. So in case of EBS, this control we don't have. The one site is, say you have a 10 operating units. You created one site. Okay, the system will display say 10 operating units. You can assign that site to one operating unit or sorry, one operating unit or 10 operating units. So no control, but here the control is based on procurement agent. Okay, the that user is acting as a procurement agent for which BU, only to those BUs that user will be able to assign the site. Any question to understand this point, please?
What if the user had access to 2 BUs? In that case, what will auto create do?
So in that case, it will select one more row here. Next row for second BU.
Oh, okay.
That means that
So it will
site is
assign to
getting
both of them.
assigned to those 2 BUs.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. So any questions here, please? So yeah, that means anyone cannot assign the site to any BU. Only that BU specific procurement agent only can assign that site to that BU. That's how they set a control on this process. Done. Now we'll just here we have a different terms: procurement business unit, client business unit, and bill to business unit. Procurement BU, client BU, and bill to BU. In previous versions, this bill to BU only they given as a sold to BU. The latest version again they changed the name to bill to. In past previous version sold to. Fine. So procurement BU means it's all about which BU will be involving in the procurement process. Who will be involving in the procurement process? Who will be raising the purchase orders? And we have other BU also called as requisition BU. So which BU will involve in the requisitions. Here client to BU is nothing but this is also equal to requisition BU. Requisition BU. So there will be scenarios. This is not required because requisition BU means we will write the requisition, but similar to that they give a name here as client to BU. So when you consider centralized procurement process, centralized procurement, there will be scenarios where one BU will raise the requisition. Okay, one BU will raise the requisition. Say BU1 is rising, BU1 is acting as a client BU who will be raising the requisitions, and BU2 may involve in the procurement process, and BU3 can act as a bill to BU, who will be creating the invoices. When you consider the centralized procurement, the requisition can be raised by one BU, procurement can be done by another BU, finally invoicing will be done by another BU. To manage all these scenarios, this is how they given. Otherwise, by default, okay, the client BU and bill to BUs are same. The BU which is raising the requisition, the same BU will have a invoicing also. That is the reason when you click on auto create assignments, so for the client BU and bill to BU system taken the same name. Okay, in the normal scenarios, client to BU, bill to BUs are same, but the purpose wise they given. Sometimes client BU and bill to BU can be different. Client BU is nothing but will raise the requisitions. Bill to BU is nothing but who. Yeah, the pop-up also they given. See, place cursor here. It's not coming for this. Here we are getting that. So BU that process invoices for orders raised by one or more requisition BUs. Okay, let's place cursor on this. I think for this no pop-up. So that is the meaning of client to BU. Client to BU means the one who raise the requisitions. Bill to BU means the BU which will involve in the invoicing process. Okay, invoicing process. So the general scenarios, the procurement BU, client BU, bill to BU, all will be same. The same bill to BU in the previous versions they given as a sold to BU. Okay, the sold to BU. That's how they given. So sold to BU means supplier point of view, sold to BU. To which BU they sold, okay, they have to make the payment. That is nothing but bill to whom supplier will bill. Whom supplier will bill, to whom supplier sold. To that BU only they'll do the billing. That's the reason. That's how they given the sold to BU in the previous versions. By taking the, I mean, by having view from the supplier side, later they changed. So bill to BU to like which supplier. Finally, that in the entire procurement process, who will be just having the, who will be managing the supplier billing to make the payments. That's how they change the naming convention. Okay, these are the just terms which you have to understand. So we normally come across the scenarios, the procurement BU, client BU, nothing but requisition BU and bill to BU, nothing but invoice. Will be processing the payment, the BU will be same. Okay, so this is the one point to understand. And one more point is in case of EBS, so we provide all the accounts, some key accounts, liability account, prepayment, discount, and few other accounts in the financial options. Whenever you create the supplier site, automatically system will default those mandatory accounts to supplier site. That means whenever you create the supplier site, you no need to provide that liability account and other accounts. Those system will take from the financial options in case of EBS. In Fusion, equal to financial options, which options we have? Common options. We just gone through those options in the yesterday session. So in the common options, we given the same accounts. Whatever we generally give in financial option EBS, same we given in common options. Liability account, prepayment account, discount taken, which are primarily mandatory, those accounts we given. But in Fusion, whatever the accounts we have in the common options, those won't get defaulted to supplier site. Okay, those won't get defaulted to supplier site, and they made the accounts fields are optional in case of Fusion. In EBS case, those accounts are mandatory. If you create supplier side, system has to default from financial options to supplier side. You may override as per how, as per your requirement, but as a mandatory system defaults. So but here the no defaults they given, so they made the accounts as optional. The reason is in case of centralized procurement, these BUs can be different. These BUs can be different. That is the reason. If it is going to take from the procurement related common options means that's common for finance and payables and procurement. If it is going to take that defaults from the procurement, but ultimately that bill to invoicing BU can be different. In that case, that will become big issue in terms of accounting. That's the reason they are not defaulting from common options to supplier side. So you have to provide option through manual process. See here, liability distribution account, prepayment account, bills payable distribution account. You have to provide it if you want to provide. If you don't provide here, when you create invoice, from where system take the liability account? In case of EBS, takes from supplier site. The supplier site level, what are the liability account we have, that will derive to invoice creation time. The say here, if you have a liability account in the supplier site level, it derives from the supplier site. If not available at supplier site, it takes directly from the common options. So that's how it works. So if you want to provide, you can provide here, otherwise directly it will take from the common options. If you are going to use the same liability account across the organization, you are not going to have a different liability accounts based on the supplier classification or other criteria. You no need to provide here, it will take from the common options. So even liability account, prepayment account, if you are going to deal with the bills payables, future dated payments, all the cases it will take from there. And you may set default distribution set. If you want to set, we created one distribution set, right? Let's select it, so that whenever you create the invoice against the supplier site, it will take the distribution. Okay, it will create the distribution with the help of this distribution set. We don't need to enter anything. So these are the few points we have to understand. You may set default ship to bill to same as EBS. Okay, so this is how we have to create the supplier site, and we can assign the site to one or multiple business units. If you want to assign to one or multiple business unit, the user should be a procurement agent for all those BUs. Otherwise, the user cannot perform that activity. So this is what we have to understand about supplier definition. Any questions, please? Fine, no questions. Now you can save and close.
Did we define the common options for liability accounts in your class?
Sorry?
We defined the liability account, prepayment account, and common option, you're telling?
Yes, Tej. Yesterday we did, right?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah. See, that's what definitely whatever the discussions we do, that most of the time it depends on previous classes. Okay, yes, we defined in yesterday's session. Yesterday's session we just configured the common options. Within that we given the liability account, prepayment account, discount taken, and other unrealized gain, loss, and variance accounts. Right? Same I'm referring.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Lakshman.
Sorry, I just muted. Yes, Srini, please.
Yeah, if the requisition is getting raised from XYZ business unit, and this supplier site level, the client BU is Cloud INC. So in that case, now how this is going to, the site will be used for that particular requisition to build the PO.
Yes.
A little bit confused.
Yes, the accounts and all, you have to provide bill to BU related code combinations. And if that is a scenario, in the procurement, we have additional configuration. The service provider organization, service provider BU, okay, the additional setups we have. There you have to create the relationships, so then the process can be executed. Okay, that's a core procurement part, centralized procurement.
Okay, even though this particular site is not belongs to XYZ business unit at all, still we can use this site for building the PO for the XYZ business unit requisition.
Exactly. The site, see, one point here, the site is not at all belongs to specific business unit until unless you assign. We are not creating site within the business unit. That is a point we have to understand. Okay, site is not belongs to any business unit. Site is individual definition that you can associate with one or multiple business units.
Okay, another question I have is the defaulted is Cloud INC here, client BU as well as the the other one to the client BU, can I override it? How
Yeah,
can I make it like?
you can do that. Yes, you can do that. So, but
Okay,
here, this user has access to only one, right? This
of course,
user is
of course.
acting as a only one. So here, since you saved, it is freezing. Again, if you want, if you have a need of doing, so by default, normally just client BU and build to BU same. That is the reason just so here build to BU you can change if you ever requirement is you want to change the client BU also. In that case, remove it. Remove this definition. I think it's freezed it. So in that case, you can inactivate it and you can go with a new definition. But one system, once you click on auto create, it will default and the field would be you can override. That's how you could see. It will allow you to override. Since we saved, now it is not allowing us. Okay, you can override it. Fine. Any other questions?
Is
I
it
have
possible bring business unit information by default rather than we are selecting here? Assuming we have only one business unit, I don't want to create, bring this every time to select. Is it
Every
possible somewhere
time
can define that?
means no. Please, please. Hope you got my question. Every time selecting means what do you mean by every time selecting? Who's speaking?
Yeah, this stage
What
here.
is tell me?
Yeah, I'm
What do you mean by selecting
while,
every time?
while what I mean to say that while creating supplier definition, the site, instead of picking from here, so is it possible whenever I create every site, every customer supplier, is it possible I have only one business unit rather than picking up here? Is it possible to bring by default?
See now its system is taking by default only. Only just you are clicking on auto create. That's what we did. Manually we are not selecting. And one more point is every time means no, not every time. It's a one time setup, right? It's one time setup, right?
Yes, right.
So that's how it works. It's a one time setup and it's defaulting. I didn't select it. We clicked on auto create assignments. So system is understanding the user is acting as a procurement for which business unit, that to that business unit the site system is assigned automatically. The same if you want to do, you can go and do manually by clicking on add, click on add. It will open the field and here you can select what you can select. Same one, no other BU access this user has. That's it. Already that is selected, right? Done. So this is how it works.
Let me ask a different question though.
Please.
In case of iSupplier, you typically we give access to the suppliers to get into our iSupplier portal, and they create their sites and they default few things too. So in that case, how it is going to work? They are not the employees, and they are not associated with any business unit. And how the suppliers are going to
For
set
that
up
we have a
their
separate
own.
rules. That rules will provision in case of iSupplier. Okay. So in that case, you don't need to make them as a procurement agents and all. For the standard definition of supplier and assignment, you should have a you should convert the employee user as a procurement agent. In that case, so we'll be classifying that party as a supplier and the relevant roles, supplier related roles. We have additional roles which will assign to the suppliers whom we allow them to do this our system access and certain definitions and assignments. So based on that roles, it will allow them. They can do it. So this is applicable when we create our supplier and when we assign sites to our BUs. Okay, that's a total again different theory.
Thanks.
Fine, yeah, fine. Okay, this is all about supplier definition. Just say save and close. And if you want to maintain the supplier contacts, okay, with whom you are with with whom you are going to be in touch related to any queries, and for that you can create the contacts, and there is some separate module called as supplier qualifications. In that case, the qualifications you can search here. But normally when you work on the financials, we don't need to look into that. The qualifications are core procurement related part. In procurement, that is one of the module they given. Okay, that's all about it. Here you could see some warning. The reason is you didn't specify any contact information for the supplier. Space cursor. The site has no active contacts. We didn't create any contacts, not mandatory. So this is how just you can create the supplier. After creating supplier, say submit. And anytime if you want to find the same supplier and if you want to do certain modifications, what you could do is go to the task list. So this is the task we use to create the supplier. Go to manage suppliers and find our supplier with the keywords with our supplier name you can use as a keywords, or else if you want to go with a advanced search, click on advanced. You can give the supplier name or registration number, etc., or else dates created between a supplier type, etc., business classification you can give, or else you can say basic. You can just with the basic easily you can find our supplier name is cloud inc supplier. Search, you can find the supplier record, click on edit. So this is supplier profile. Any changes you want to do, you can do it. Anyway, we'll be working on the different concepts which are directly connected to the supplier, where we have to give some specifications supplier level. At that time we'll go through the different tabs and we'll understand. Address, if you want to edit you can do it. Sites, if you want to add additional sites, if you want to assign the site to additional BUs, you can do it. In that case, first you have to make this cloud ANC as a agent for those BUs, then only you will be able to assign this site to those BUs. That's all. So this is all about supplier definition. Okay, so there are few changes which you have to notice. Rust remain as a EBS supplier definition. Okay, done. So that's all about supplier. Any questions on supplier definition related queries, please? If no questions, we'll move on to next topic. Next what we'll do is, I think we have done almost payables basic configuration, invoice process supported configuration. Now we'll go and work on payment related setups. It's all about bank creation, branch creation, and bank accounts documents creation within that. And to process the payments we require payment process profile. Once we're done with that, we'll go and assign the roles to user, which will allow the user to work on the payables process. To the same roles, we'll assign our business unit and we'll open the payables period so that we can start working on the payables application. Okay, so as a next step or next setup, what we'll do is we'll go and create bank branch and bank account. Within the account we'll create the documents. Okay, that's when we will do it. So after creating this definition, so we'll go on to create payment process profile, PPP. Right, same setups, the same we do in EBS also. So after completing this, we'll go and assign AP roles to user. Okay, for AP primarily we have a 3 seeded roles. The 3 seeded roles will assign to user. For those 3 seeded roles, we have to assign the business unit. We have to provision the access to those roles. For that we have a task called as data access, right? Provide data access for users. Means with this we can assign our BU to AP roles. After completing that, as a as Oracle recommends, we run the LDAP job. After that, we have to open AP periods. Okay, open AP periods so that the payables application will be ready to use. We can create invoice and we can make the payment, and we'll go with all the topics which I just mentioned in the course curriculum. We'll go one by one after that. So before we go and create the bank accounts, any question from anyone, please? Fine. So we'll go and create the bank and branch. After creating the bank and branch, we'll create the bank account. To create the bank and branch, navigate to project, or from FSM home page also you can create the bank and branch and bank account. But let's do it from our project only. Fine. So search for bank, or search for bank accounts. It will display the three tasks. The all three will be in the sequence: bank, branch, account. Okay, you can click on any one of the tasks. All will navigate to same, because three tasks are available in the finance path only. You can click on any one of the tasks. Now you can see manage banks, manage bank branches, manage bank accounts. First we'll go and create the bank. You can go to task icon, then say create. So the bank is belongs to which country? Select states. What's the bank name? We'll go everything with the same naming convention, Cloud INC. I'll say Cloud INC Bank. Fine. If you want to provide the address, contact details for bank, you can give it, or else say save and close. Fine. We created bank. Bank name is Cloud INC Bank. Now we'll go and create the branch. To create the branch against the bank, select bank name and click on create branch. You can give the branch name as Cloud INC branch. And routing number is mandatory. So we have to take some valid number. System will consider the exact number of digits are matching or not. Say BOA.
I can tell you that 271.
Yeah, we'll just copy it, any one of the number.
I can tell you the real number. That's
Yes. Okay. Any number will work. Yeah, please.
271
271
972
972
572.
572. Just system will count the number of digits. Okay, that's all. That's how they kept validation. I think total 9. Fine. So if you want to provide the address for the branch, you can provide in the same way contact details. Completely, this information is optional. You can provide branch name and provide routing number, then say save and close. We know very well in EBS release 12, if you want to create the bank account, you have to create the bank account, what setup we have to do in EBS? Some dependency setup we have. After creating bank and branch, directly we cannot create the bank account. What setup we have to do in case of EBS? EBS not 11i. What setup we have to do?
Security. User managed.
The user management, we have to provision the roles to the legal entity to act as a bank account owner, and three different privileges: use, maintain, and do bank account transfers. Okay, we have to grant these privileges to legal entity. So then only that under that legal entity you will be able to create the bank account. But here that setup is not required. Okay, so you no need to make your legal entity as a bank account owner. By default your legal entity only bank account owner, so we no need to perform that setup. Directly you can go and create the bank account. We'll see that we don't have such kind of control here. Directly you can create. We created bank and branch. Now we'll create the bank account. So click on, go to task icon, against manage bank accounts, say create.
So that means bank is not under TC umbrella anymore.
No, TCA, but auto provisioning they are doing through programming itself. Every legal entity is qualified to hold the bank account ownership. Whereas in EBS, you have to go and set it up which legal entity can have a ownership for bank account definition. By default, for all they are giving. Okay, that's it. So select your branch, because branch is under bank only. You don't need to select bank branch. Select branch, system will understand the branch belongs to which bank. So our branch name is Cloud INC. Select account name, say Cloud INC corporate account. Account number, and account is maintained in which currency, say USD. Who's this bank account? Who is the owner for this bank account? Stop going with the search. You type here. And this bank account can be used in which applications? Which BUs will be setting later. First, which products? Only payables and receivables, and even the account they made as a cash account optional, provide as a mandatory. So company, department, and cash account. We know like for each bank account we maintain the separate cash account, but here since we are testing, you directly you can go with any one of the cash account. Say okay. So now we'll go and create the document. Scroll little down here, you could see the payment document section. Click on create to create the documents. So payment document name is a Cloud INC check. Paper stock type, it is a blank stock or pre-numbered. Numbered stock, just stationery which will be printing. It's already you have a stationery from banker which is a pre-numbered stock. That specifications we can give, and the format for printing. So we know like we Oracle provides some seeded format called as standard check format. How to just where we can find in case of EBS, these formats you can find in the payment administrator, but in the Fusion it's a different place and all that I'll take you through before we complete the payables. I just mentioned the pay as a part of payables where you can find the formats, how to once the technical people modify the alignment, the printing alignments, how we can create the format, how we can assign to the bank account level or payment process profile level, that will be covering. For now we'll use whatever Oracle provides as a seeded one, standard check format. And you may set the numbering. The first available document is 1, last available document is 1000. If you want to specify this 1 to 1000 documents or belongs to how many checkbooks, you can write it here, but not mandatory. Say okay. This is complete, is totally is equal to EBS bank account definition. Done. Now we have to assign this bank account to the specific business unit. So go to business unit access, just click on assign. So assign this bank account to your business unit. Okay, say okay. Why only our business unit is coming here? Because of legal entity. With that legal entity, only that one bank account legal entity is associated with the primary ledger. With that, how many BUs are associated, those BUs only will get it. That's all. This is how we have to specify. Then say save and close. When you are working on the different concepts, cross currency payments, foreign currency payments, and other processes will come to this bank account definition, and will be setting the relevant options. For now, nothing is required. So just the basic definition how we do the bank account in case of EBS, same you can do here. That's all. But only the point you have to understand, you don't need to give any grants to legal entity before you create the bank account. That's all. Rest remains same. So bank account is ready. Now we have to create the payment process profile. Okay. Go to payment process profiles. Right, without payment process profile we cannot process the payment. That could be manual way of processing the payments or payment process request. So we require payment process profile. So task name is manage payment process profiles. Click on go to task icon. Just click on create. You can provide the name cloud inc payment process profile. Cloud inc payment process profile. So you can select the same payment format, standard check, standard check format. So how we will be processing the payments? Say printed, that means check payments. You may set default payment document. Okay, and the criteria rules when you process the payments by using this payment process profile. This payment process profile can be used for which payment methods, which disbursement bank account, which BUs, which currency payments you can process with that. All you can specify. So let it be all. Okay, no need to specify anything. Openly we can use it. Say save and close. Is a basic definition of payment process profile, which directly we can use in the payment definition. Payment when we record the payments. So now we have to assign the AP roles to the user. We have three roles called as accounts. Let me write here. Okay, we'll do it and we'll take those notes here. So we have three roles called as accounts payables manager, supervisor, and specialist. I mean, accounts payables manager, accounts payables supervisor, accounts payables specialist. They are the three seated roles we have for payables, which will give you the complete transaction related access to the user. Fine. If you want to assign the roles to user, we have to navigate to security console. Right. Just go to security console. Click on users. Find our user, cloud inc. Click on username. Click on edit. Click on add role. Okay. I'll take you through auto provisioning rules in tomorrow session. Okay. add role. So roles are accounts payable manager. So these are the data roles. Reason this environment is upgraded from 11 to 12, 12 to 13. So from 11 environment, these are copied since the vision instance, the sample data related roles are appearing here. Otherwise, these in fresh instance, you don't see these data roles. Accounts payable manager, assign. So accounts payable specialist, select, say assign. Accounts payable supervisor, say assign. So we assign three roles to this user which are seeded and which will have a full privileges to complete AP related functionality which is related to process. Done. Now what is the next step? Yes, three roles we assign to the user. For the three roles we have to assign the business unit, right? So we have to provide the data access for the user related roles. So the naming convention they given as a data access for user, that's true, but reality data access for user roles. Okay, anyway, task name is data access for users. Go to our implementation project or directly you can go to FSM homepage. You will be able to perform the task. Go to project, click on overview, click on the project, search for the task called as data access for users. Nothing but data access for user roles. Data access for users. See, if you notice here, 1 second, let's just stop fetch. If you notice here, we have a task called as manage data access for users, and we have another task called as manage business unit data access for users. You click on this task or this task, it will take you to the same page. Based on what purpose you are navigating, you may use this task. So from this task, you can assign anything to this user related roles. You can assign primary ledger to the roles. You can assign business unit to these roles. You can assign corporate book to these roles when you talk about FA. And you can assign inventory organization to the roles. Everything you can do from here. But separate tasks also they given. Asset book assignment, BU assignment, budget book control, budget book, and data access set and inventory organization, ledger, okay, data access. So all they given but not required. You don't need to go with all these different, not at all required. Use this task. This will help you to assign anything to any role. Okay, here click on manage data access for users. Click on add. Username is cloud inc. Just tab out, system will fetch if the username exists. Go to role, select first role called as accounts payable manager. Security contest is business unit. Our BU name is cloud inc. It will fetch, select. Click on add, cloud inc. Select role, accounts payable specialist. Just type B, it will pick the business unit, and here Cloud INC US.
Lakshman, totally how many roles we have in for AP?
AP, the seeded are three rows, which we use for transaction entry process. Okay, Cloud INC. Accounts payable supervisor. Type B, it will pick the business unit as security contest. So security contest value is RBU name. Cloud INC US business unit. Say save and close. Now we have to submit the LDAP job for this role synchronization. I think we tag that ESS job page with the favorites. Go to favorites. We did it in the yesterday session, right? So click on ESS job page. It will directly take us to the same page where we can submit any job. Go to schedule new processes. So search for LDAP, LDAP. Retrieve latest LDAP changes. Say OK and submit. Fine. Since it's a recommendation, we are running it, and other side system may complete that synchronization before this process complete. Okay. By assuming system is completed already, we'll just go and try to open the periods. Fine. We'll sign out and sign in, and we'll try. Just now we have to open the AP periods. To open the AP periods, go to navigator. We assign those roles, three roles to this user because of that system added these three tasks under payables. To open the AP periods, click on invoices task. If the synchronization is completed, it will allow us to open. Otherwise, once you navigate to that page, it won't display anything. Just this is the invoice workbench page. Here, the bottom you can see payables periods. Click on manage accounting periods. If synchronization is completed, we'll be able to open, or else we have to wait for some time. We'll see that. So we know very well, even in EBS also, just so BUs operating units what we have, those are just mapped with the primary ledger. Here they given the option of opening the periods for your BU through primary ledger. So Cloud INC USA primary. If you place the cursor on this primary ledger, it shows how many BUs are associated with the primary ledger. Now if you open the periods for payables for this primary ledger, for all the BUs, the periods will be open which are associated with the same ledger. Just click on that. So it will ask us to open the first period for payables. Application is payables. First period is John. in our accounting calendar. Open it. That means synchronization is done. That is the reason system is allowing. When you are practicing, once you do that assignment after submitting LDAP job, immediately if you try to do it, it may not work in this way how you see now. So it may not respond if you click on that page and all. In that case, only the solution is you have to wait for some time. That means system is synchronizing. You have to wait for some time. After that, it will start working. Fine, just be done with that. If you want to open periods one by one, select Feb as the next period and say open. Otherwise, directly you can go with the target period. Click on actions. Here we have a option called as open target period. The target period is May 18. Say open. Say yes. Say okay. Just keep hitting on this refresh. Done. May period status is open. June period status is future enterable. Since by default system selects one future enterable period in the ledger level. Ledger options. You may change it to 2 or 3. Fine, done. So we open the periods in payables. So in tomorrow session we'll see next session. Okay, tomorrow, right? Yes. The tomorrow session will see the invoice creation and all, and we'll go one by one. Okay, all the concepts we have, many listed concepts for payables as per our course curriculum. We'll go one by one. In tomorrow's session, we'll just before we create invoice, there are a few points which you have to understand related to access, BUs, and reference data set. We'll discuss those points, and we'll set up the profile option default to BU for our user, and we can start working on invoice creation, payment creation, and invoice creation to spreadsheet. There are many topics we have as a part of this course curriculum. We go through the course curriculum, what we are going to cover in the payables. Hope everybody has the same with everyone. Fine. Any questions from anyone, please? If no questions, we can wind up for today. We're done for today. And if you have any questions, you can stay back. Otherwise, you can drop from the meeting. We'll connect tomorrow same time. Thank you all.
So, Lakshman, when we created the supplier side, there was bill to address and ship to address. What does that mean?
Oh, you don't know the meaning of bill to and ship to addresses?
No, I know, but is that the same meaning in EBS?
Same meaning.
Okay.
The meaning is that means that is our address. When you are acting as a customer, that is our address which we given to that supplier as that is which is our bill to, which is our ship to addresses. Those are the customer addresses which is informed to the supplier. So whatever we inform to our supplier within the supplier record, we are maintaining in our books. Okay. So those you can set default so that when you create the purchase orders and all, it will default. Otherwise, we have to select. If you are going to create the PO automatically, it's mandatory you have to set default. Otherwise, optional.
Thank you.
Yeah. Same as this.
A question on this open periods.
Please.
Do we have future enterable periods for subledgers also?
Yes, they given. Yes, they
given, because it was not there in EBS, right?
Yeah. In EBS, no. Here, see, ledger-based opening the periods they given, right? So based on ledger level, we are opening for subledgers also by selecting the ledger. That is the reason ledger level, whatever we set future enterable period, that is getting applied to this.
So we can still enter future transactions in that period, but we cannot post until we open the period.
Same function. Yes. All right.
Thank you.
The same function.
Lakshman.
Yeah.
I have some personal questions. Can I call you?
Yeah, we'll have a call after this meeting. We may wind up this session within 5 to 10 minutes. Once we're done with that, we'll
Okay.
give a call. Sri, right?
Yes.
Full name, I don't need mail ID, just your name, full name, Sri, because I have to talk to this team to give you a call.
Yeah. It's Kiran
Sorry?
side. Yeah. That side.
No, your voice is breaking. I can't hear you.
My last name is Kiran. K-I-R-A-N.
Okay, fine, fine. Anyway, I'll get from these guys. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, Kiran. Okay.
Yes. Yes.
Kiran Street. Okay. Fine. Yeah, we'll give you a call.
Lakshman, in the previous video sessions, right? It is not getting updated. Like only there are 36 videos, and recent videos I
We
don't see.
uploaded yesterday's session, yesterday itself, as I said, within 1 hour time. What is the issue you have with that?
No, it's not the issue that videos are not getting uploaded. That's what I see. The last day before yesterday is 36. Yesterday also 36 videos only.
What do you mean by not uploading?
Is it that is are they in sync with your current session, or you are
Ravi, not
you
clear.
missed any
What you are
videos
talking, I'm
uploaded?
not getting, please. What is the issue?
Can you understand? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. I can hear you. What is the issue you are talking about?
It's
See,
not an issue, just a clarification kind of thing. Other videos are getting updated in the previous video session link.
previous as yesterday we discussed, right? So we just had a session today also. So today's session is pending. I think prior 1 or 2 sessions also pending, including today's session. I'll upload in that previous batch videos. We'll do that. You may see
Okay.
2 or 3 new videos. You are talking about previous batch videos. Okay.
Previous batch videos, I see the folder has been changed,
I'm
but
not sure
the
somebody.
videos are not getting updated.
I think somebody did it because people has full privileges to that. They can download and all. I'll check it. I'll check it. If something wrong with that, I'll just I'll work on it.
Yep, thank you.
Yeah.
Not the current session of document.
Sorry.
Lakshman.
Yeah.
Lakshman, this page here.
Yes, please.
For previous batch videos up to 35 loaded perfectly, but current batch, which are current class daily classes, 16th and 17th, two videos which are getting a error message. We could not able to access to doc 045 docs Google user content.com was denied.
No.
You don't have authorization to view this page. That kind of 403 error is getting. Just relook at that.
One
Probably
second.
something is error.
Now itself. 1 second. Let me stop this recording.
Yeah.